So hello oh, hello and welcome everyone. We will be getting started in a few minutes with our group meditation and teachings. Only need to put on once, so okay, so I can see Cliff, Robert, Riley, Karuna, David, Sila, Rydia, Kushik. Welcome. Hello, Warren. Welcome, Warren. Stop. He said that it's the same No, audio, no? No. No, forse solo l'inizio. Forse solo l'inizio che è uguale, poi cambia. O sei sicuro? I think that is the same. Okay. No. Okay. Okay, hi there, Kushik and Abi. All right, hello there, Panda. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great.
This is your first time joining?
Yes, it is, yes.
Well, you're in the right place, and hopefully you can see and hear just fine.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just getting used to it. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any question before we get started?
I don't think so. I guess I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm happy to kind of go with the flow.
Great. Well, as you're new in the server and the community, it's new to Discord. It's very good that you check out the different channels so that you can um, connect with what is offered, the information that's offered. But for now, just be having a group meditation and teaching so you can be along for the ride. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Yeah. Hi there, Eitan. Hi, Nico. Hello there, Mindy. And yeah, welcome, Mindy. So we can find our meditation position, finding the comfortable position for the body to be still, to be settled. Taking a few deep breaths to bring the mind home to the body, to bring our awareness and our attention to this moment, this present. Especially awareness of the body as it is right now. Breathing deeply, we can follow the path of the breath, the course of the breath. So we feel the breath coming into the body, flowing deeply through our chest, down into our lungs, down into our stomach. Allowing the body and mind to come together and to settle, to relax. Even though there may be some kind of tension or movement from our day to day so far, we maybe woke up on the wrong side of the bed. We allow ourselves at this moment to just sit and to be, to breathe and be aware of whatever is there without judgment. No judgment necessary. Just focusing the mind on the breath, the feeling of the breath flowing in and flowing out. Allow the breath to find a natural, easy rhythm, and allow your mind to focus on and follow the rhythm of the breath, to be with the breath, to be with the body. And at any time that distractions or difficulties come up in this practice of meditation, you take that pain, distraction, difficulty as just another reminder to return to the breath, to return to this state of allowing and accepting. Just breathing and being aware of the body. As we breathe, we can feel the richness and the fullness, the value of the breath, like breathing in gold. We might think that the breath is this kind of irrelevant activity, irrelevant process, not so important to us, not so valuable to us. But for even a few seconds, a few moments, if we are not able to breathe, it's a real difficulty. And so as we breathe in, as we practice meditation, just breathing, just being aware, breathing in the breath as if it were gold, as if it were so precious and worthy of your full attention, worthy of your full sincerity, to be with the breath wholeheartedly at this moment. To feel the joy of breathing. any tension, any tightness, any resistance, just relaxing, relieving, just breathing and being aware, allowing the body and mind to rest. Whatever comes up, whatever distracts or disturbs, that is exactly what to relax, what to put to rest. All sights and sounds and feelings of the body, a kind of harmonious chorustra of meditation, of liberation, of invitation to practice, to continue. Letting the body be comfortable and still, beginning to practice our meditation method to simplify our mind, to put the mind at rest. This method of just breathing, just being aware of the body as it is. To just sit, to just be with the body, to just be with the mind. Just breathing and being aware. If the mind is always going, always complicating, always worked up, always involved in something, then any and every problem become insurmountable, exhausting. But if we can slow, stop, relax, refresh, restart, allow the mind to come to a rest, allow our awareness to be at rest, to not be in a state of struggle, then even the most complicated issues become quite simple, become manageable. It's all a matter of our mind, simple or complicated, in a constant state of activity, stress, anxiety, struggle, or at this moment in a constant state to relax, refresh, restart, just breathing, taking a fresh breath, taking a new breath, establishing ourselves in the here and now, in awareness itself. A sense of peace and healing that is non-conditional. It doesn't rely on economic situations. It doesn't rely on the political atmosphere. It doesn't rely on our relationships with other people, whether they are good or bad, or neutral. But just this breathing and being aware. This method, this way of meditation, this way of practice to relax, to refresh, to restart, to detach, to give up. The constant involvement with thoughts, stories, beliefs. The breath is happening. We allow the breath to happen easily and naturally. We allow awareness of our body to be at the forefront of what's happening, of how we relate to ourselves, of how we relate to reality, aware of the body sitting here. The whole body sitting here at this moment, simply breathing. Simply in a state of awareness.
Meditation can be very enjoyable. It can also be quite difficult. But however your practice is going, it's all about restart, refresh. To be aware of what's happening and to let go, to not hold on to it. And to continue practicing your ability to be with what's happening, to be aware of what's happening without reacting, without causing more trouble, because what is happening right now is exactly that. It is what is happening right now. So just breathing and being with that, connecting with the truth, joy, peace, calm, gentleness, patience. We practice all this in our meditation to open our heart, to deepen our mind, all through this simple exercise, this simple method of just breathing. Just being aware. So, please make sure that you are comfortable, and we will continue our reading from Zen Master Empty Cloud's teachings. And today we'll be looking at a story about the Tao Immortal, Immortal of the Tao. So Taoism is a particular religion, philosophy from China that talks a lot about alchemy and becoming an immortal. And historically there was a relationship between Buddhism and Taoism, a kind of, I don't know that competition would be right, but at times an interaction. And so this will talk a little bit about that interaction between Taoism and Buddhism, especially Zen Buddhism. And we'll start with this verse from the original Pali Canon, from the Samyutta Nikaya. A little hut. Don't you have a little hut? Don't you have a little nest? Don't you have any lines extended? Are you free from bondage? Surely I have no little hut. Surely I have no little nest. Surely I have no lines extended. Guessing this is talking about passive fishing. So you can extend lines in the river and then you catch fish that way. Surely I am free from bondage. What do you think I call a little hut? What do you think I call a little nest? What do you think I call lines extended? What do you think I call bondage? It is a mother that you call a little hut, a partner that you call a little nest, children that you call lines extended. Craving that you tell me is bondage. It's good that you have no little hut. Good that you have no little nest. Good that you have no lines extended. Good that you are free from bondage, free from craving. Oftentimes in modern society, it's the opposite. We think we don't have enough, and we're bound up thinking, well, I don't have a partner, I don't have children, I don't have um, all these relationships, all these extra things, so I need to struggle to get them. But oftentimes we're struggling to put ourselves deeply in bondage. So if you don't have, easier to be free. Chapter 11, the Tao Immortal. 43 generations of Zen masters have passed since the sixth patriarch held high the Dharma lamp. The sixth patriarch is this very famous ancient Zen master in China. 43 generations of seekers have found the way, guided by his light. No matter how confirmed a person is in another path, they can be guided by Zen. When sunlight comes through the window, it does not illuminate some sections of the room while leaving other parts in darkness. The entire room is lit by the sun's truth. So any person, no matter which path they have chosen, can receive the benefits of Zen's lamp. And we can say this also about our meditation practice. We think we're in this little tiny box in the corner doing our meditation, and hopefully it will bring some benefit, it'll bring some goodness into our life. But in fact, at that moment of meditation, at that moment of practice, the sun's truth is illuminating in all directions. The whole room is brightened, is illuminated. So when we practice meditation, we illuminate all of our body and mind. We illuminate the entire past and future. We illuminate the 10 directions inside and out. So it's not a small activity. But when we put it to be this exercise and we think, well, when am I going to have this stronger meditation experience? Then we dim our light. But if we just sit, if we just practice, the whole room, our whole lives, all of our relationships at that moment are illuminated by the sun's truth, the wisdom's truth, the presence truth. So any person, no matter which path they have chosen, can receive the benefits of Zen's lamp. Take the famous case of the Tao Immortal, Lu Dongbin. And maybe people here have heard about the Tao Te Ching or Lao Tzu Tao Te Ching, very famous Zen-ish text, but it's from Taoism. It's a Taoist text, and probably many verses you've read, even if you don't know about it. So take the famous case of the Tao Immortal Lu Dongbin. Lu Dongbin was the youngest and most unrestrained of all the Tao Immortals. Actually, you could say that he was pretty wild. At least that's how he started out. So this case, a Tao Immortal would be this, according to Taoism, this spiritually enlightened, but materially enlightened, that because they had done some kind of alchemy, inner or outer, they're immortal. Their bodies no longer die. They can fly through the sky. They have all kinds of special powers, these Tao Immortals. And so while in Buddhism, there's a recognition that, sure, you could get some kind of special power, some kind of special experience, but that's not the point. The point is detachment. The point is ending suffering. Doesn't matter how great the special power is. Doesn't matter how great you can read someone's mind. it's not about that. That's worthless compared to a moment of liberation, a moment of peace. But in Taoism, the highest aspiration is to become an immortal. You can fly through the sky, you can do all these amazing things. So if we think about it in a normal way, that might be, we might think that sounds a lot better than practicing meditation and reducing our suffering. You know, I'd rather be flying around and eating mercury. One of those you can do for sure, but I wouldn't recommend it. So Lu Dongbin was the youngest and most unrestrained of the Tao Immortals. Actually, you could say that he was pretty wild. At least that's how he started out. In his mortal days, he was called Chun Yang before he realized this Taoist enlightenment, Taoist power. In his mortal days, he was called Chun Yang, a native of Qingchuan who lived at the end of the Tang dynasty. That was more than 1,000 years ago, but those days weren't so different from ours. If a young person wanted to get ahead, they needed an education. In our time, they would get a college degree, but in those days, they had to pass the dreaded scholar's examination. If a person couldn't pass this exam, they had to give some serious thought to farming. Well, Chunyang tried 3 times to pass the scholar's examination, and 3 times he failed. He was frustrated and depressed. He knew he had let his family down and that he hadn't done much for himself either. It was his own professional future that he had doomed. So Chunyang did what a lot of desperate young people do. He started hanging out in wine shops, trying to drink himself to death. The path that alcohol takes went in the same direction for Chunyang as it does for anyone else. It went straight down. As the old saying goes, first Chunyang was drinking the wine. Then the wine was drinking the wine. And then the wine was drinking Chunyang. He was in pretty bad shape by the time the Tao immortal Zhongli Guan chanced to meet him in one of those saloons. So he's kind of dropped out from the education system, he's failed in his aspirations, and now he's drinking himself to death in a bar, and this Tao immortal comes along, Zhongli Guan, and by chance happened to meet him in this saloon. The Tao immortal, with great powers, took an interest in the young man. Instead of trying to shorten your life with wine, he said, why don't you try to lengthen your life with Tao? Instead of a short, miserable life, Zhongli Guan offered Chunyang a long, happy life. It sounded like a good deal. Chunyang might not have had what it took to be a government bureaucrat, but he certainly had everything required to try spiritual alchemy. Chunyang had nothing else to do with his time, so he had plenty of opportunity to practice. He was definitely motivated. I suppose that he had become aware of how far down he had gone, that he had hit bottom, so to speak. When a person realizes that they don't have anything to lose by looking at life from another point of view, they are more open to new ideas. So Chunyang had the motivation and the opportunity. It only remained to acquire the means. And that was what Zhongli Guan was offering to supply. He would teach him the necessary techniques. Chunyang threw his heart and soul into the mastery of what is called the small cosmic orbit, a powerful yoga practice that uses sexual energy to transmute the dross of human nature into the gold of immortality. Dross, the worthlessness, the difficulties of human nature, into the gold of immortality. He got so good at it that he could make himself invisible or even appear in two places at once. That's pretty good. One day he decided to fly over Zen Monastery Hai Hui, which was situated on Lushan Mountain. Saints and immortals can do that, you know. They are like pilots without airplanes or parachutes. While he was flying around up there, he saw and heard the Buddhist monks chanting and working hard, doing all the ordinary things that Buddhist monks do. So to show off his powers and mock the monks' industry, busyness, he wrote a little poem on the wall of the monastery's bell tower. So he has gone from a drunkard to a Taoist immortal. He has developed these special powers through these techniques of spiritual alchemy. And now he's flying around and he sees this Zen monastery with all these monks inside. And they're busy doing what monks do in the monastery, cleaning, cooking, sweeping, meditating. And he kind of has a feeling of superiority about them and their busyness. It's very lowly. You know, they're just living at the monastery doing normal tasks while he is flying over the sky. So he wrote a little poem on the wall of the monastery's bell tower. With jewel inside my Hara's treasure, every truth becomes my pleasure. When day is done, I can relax. My mind is without a care to tax. Your mindless Zen a purpose lacks. So the Hara is a kind of an area below the belly button, and if you're breathing very deeply, then that's kind of where you breathe into, very low in the belly, in the Hara region. So he's saying with a great joy or a great preciousness to my practice of breathing, every truth becomes my pleasure. I just enjoy my life. My life is enjoyable and wonderful. When the day is done, I can relax. My mind does not have any care or worry to tax or to burden me. Your mindless meditation a purpose lacks. Some such bad poetry like that. Then he flew away. Every day that the abbot Zen Master Huang Lung looked up at the bell tower, he had to read that awful poetry. One day, while the former Chunyang, he was now known as the immortal Lu Dongbin, was flying around the vicinity of the monastery, he saw a purple umbrella-shaped cloud rising over the monastery. This was a clear indication that something very spiritual was going on, and so Lu Dongbin thought he'd come down and take a look. All the monks were going into the Dharma hall, the meditation hall, so he just disguised himself as a monk and followed them in. But he couldn't fool the old Zen master Huang Lung. I don't think I will expound the Dharma today. I don't think I will present the teachings today, growled Huang Lung. We seem to have a Dharma thief in our midst. Maybe there's a Dharma thief in our midst as well, but I couldn't tell. I'm not enlightened. Maybe there's an immortal here. Lu Dongbin stepped forward and arrogantly bowed to the master. Would you be kind enough, he challenged sarcastically, to enlighten me to the meaning of the expression, a grain of wheat can contain the universe, and mountains and rivers can fit into a small cooking pot. Lu Dongbin didn't believe in the empty, egoless state. He accepted the false view that the ego somehow survives death. Huang Lung laughed at him. Look, a devil guards a corpse. A corpse Lu Tunpin retorted. Ha! My gourd is filled with the elixir of immortality. You can drag your corpse throughout eternity for all I care, said Huang Lung. But for now, get it out of here. Can't you answer my question? Taunted Lu Dongbin. I thought you had all the answers you needed, Huang Lung scoffed. He remembered the poem. Lu Dongbin responded with fury. He hurled his dreaded sword, the Devil Slayer, at Huang Lung. But the master merely pointed his finger at the flying sword, and it stopped in mid-flight and dropped harmlessly to the floor. The immortal was awestruck. He had never imagined a Zen master could be so powerful. Contrite, he dropped to his knees in a show of respect. So feeling or expressing remorse, kind of recognition of his misunderstanding. Dropped to his knees in a show of respect. Please, master, he said, I truly do wish to understand. So I truly do wish to understand the nature of your wisdom, the nature of your power, that you can stop the demon sword with one finger. Huang Lung softened towards him. Let's forget the second part about the cooking pot, he said generously. Instead, concentrate on the first part. The same mind that gives form to an arrangement of matter which it names a grain of wheat is the same mind that gives form to an arrangement of matter which it names a universe. Concepts are in the mind. Mindless Zen, as you previously put it, is actually the practice of emptying the mind of concepts, of judgments, of opinions, of ego, of self-centeredness, me, my, mine. Then he added, remembering the poem probably, especially the concept of ego. Lu Dongbin brooded about the answer until he suddenly understood it. As long as he discriminated between himself and others, between desirable and undesirable, between insignificant and important, he was enslaved to the conceptual world. He was merely an arbiter of illusions. He was merely a negotiator, a holder, an organizer of illusions. That's it. Nobody in his right mind wants to be that. And certainly no Tao immortal wants to spend his life or all eternity either judging between lies, deciding which ones are more convincing than others. And a lot of times that's what we spend all of our time doing, judging between lies. I like this lie better than that lie. I like this illusion better than that illusion. Well, wake up. Don't rely on illusions. Don't rely on what is convincing. Overjoyed, Lu Dongbin flew up to the tower, erased his old poem, and substituted another. I thought I'd mastered my small mind, but 'twas the other way around. I sought for gold in Mercury, but illusion is all I found. My sword came crashing to the floor when Huang Lung pointed at the moon. I saw the light, his truth broke through, and saved me none too soon. Unfortunately, enlightenment didn't make him a better poet. The point, however, is that Lu Dongbin, despite being a Tao immortal, was able to benefit from Zen. He so appreciated the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that he actually acquired the title of Guardian of the Dharma. Of course, it wasn't necessary for him to convert and call himself a Zen man. The whole lesson of his enlightenment was that names are meaningless, so he continued being a Tao immortal. Only now, because he understood so much more, he immediately rose through the ranks of the Immortals, and though he was the youngest of them all, he became the most prominent. Under his inspired leadership, the Taoist sect in the north really began to thrive. Lu Dongbin was called the fifth Tao patriarch of the north. Down south, another great Taoist, Zi Yang, also attained enlightenment after reading Buddhist sutras. He became known as the fifth Tao patriarch of the south. But that is another story. So, if even a Tao immortal can benefit from Zen practice, from meditation, from these teachings, someone who can fly in the sky, someone who can be immortal, someone who wields the great sword known as the demon slayer, the devil slayer, can benefit, then surely so can we. We simple commoners, common folk that gather to practice in meditation, to change our mind, to wake up. Certainly, there's benefit that we can bring into our lives. And we shouldn't cheat ourselves out of this opportunity at any point. We don't have to call ourselves a Buddhist. We don't have to believe in Zen. Certainly, we don't have to believe in Tao immortals flying above the sky. It's not the point. We're not choosing one lie over another. Well, I'm not convinced by Tao immortals flying in the sky. This must not be the place for me. Don't be convinced by that either. So let's take a few moments to sit comfortably, and we'll practice to reduce the ego-centeredness of the Tao immortal within all of us, flying around from our YouTubes to our TikToks to our sweets and our treats. And so we can kind of humble ourselves a few moments with the awareness of the body, with the breath. Noticing the impermanence of sensations, noticing the interconnectedness of phenomena, the non-separation of this experience from all other experiences in our lives, the non-separation of the body from the environment, the silliness of being overly convinced by me, my, mine. Taking a few moments to just breathe, to be aware of the body. To experience reality at this moment. Just breathing, just being aware. No lies, no being convinced. Dogs chase mud balls. Lions bite the thrower. Just this. Breathing and being aware. So everyone is invited to bring their hands together, and we will take the 5 precepts. So in the Buddhist path, we have this idea, this kind of way of practice where the foundation of our practice is morality, is ethics, is asking that question and embodying the answer of how can I be a good person? How can I live skillfully in the world? And when we vow to follow these precepts, it gives us a structure, it gives us a kind of form for us to prioritize living skillfully, living ethically. So we can come together at this time and make this vow, this promise to ourselves and to the community that we will follow these 5 precepts. And we keep in mind during our daily life, during our interactions with others, to really keep these precepts close to our hearts. These precepts protect our practice, they protect our goodness, and they embolden it, they empower it. Okay, so you can repeat after me. We will take these precepts together. I observe the precept to refrain from killing any living beings. I observe the precept to refrain from taking anything that is not given. I undertake the precept to refrain from any sexual misconduct. I observe the precept to refrain from telling lies or speaking harshly. I observe the precept to refrain from taking any intoxicant or drug. Having made the promise, the vow to follow these 5 precepts, may your goodness be bright, may your practice be strong, may your mindfulness be continuous. Together, we can now say sadhu 3 times to end our practice together. Sadhu. 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 Okay. Thank you all for joining. That will be the end of our morning practice session. But if anyone does have any questions that they want to ask or anything like that, please feel welcome to ask your question.
Hi, Bante. Just want to say thank you for the session.
Yes.
I've some cursory knowledge of Zen, but anything in depth compared to yourself. What is the meaning of saying sadhu at the end of Gumi session? Because in
So,
Hindi, sadhu means like a religious person. So
no,
I'm
yeah,
curious.
that's right. So sadhu here
Mm.
is a word in Pali that means great, well done, excellent.
Mm.
So when we chant sadhu at the end of our practice together, it's kind of a seal. You can say it's a finishing, it's a closing. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And when you practice that in person, when you practice that together, you also get to harmonize and to express your sound, your voice, and that's also a nice part of it. But in a very literal sense, it means excellent, good job, well done. And so we kind of put a pin in the goodness of our activity and the recognition of our being involved in that, practicing that, recognition of our own goodness.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
One thing. So, at the end of all of our meditations lately, we have been making these 5 vows. What are they? The 5 rules, 5 what is it?
Precepts.
Precepts. And the last one, we always say no drugs or intoxicants. Now, I still smoke weed from time to time. Is that hindering my can I still practice this Buddhism if I am doing any intoxicants?
Well, it's not ideal. Move away from it because I was speaking with someone recently who is having issues with weed, young person, and they smoke weed and they recognize that yes, it's pleasurable, but it's not good for them. It doesn't really offer anything. It's not supporting their development. It's not supporting their growth. It's not supporting their wellness. It's just something pleasurable that they do. And that's a lot of activities that we do in our life. They're not good for us. They don't benefit us in any way, but we continue to do them, you know. So if weed is one of those things for you, then start to move away from it, you know, start to detach, and recognize that it's just because something's pleasurable doesn't mean that you need to continue doing it. But if you know, if it's something you're using medicinally or you're using very skillfully, then that's a different case. But in general, it's a alcohol cigarette. You know, it's a form of getting high or becoming less aware, becoming sedated, whatever it might be. So
Okay. But I still can practice the, you know, all of this if I do that kind of stuff occasionally, right? Or
yeah, of
is
course,
it
you do your best to follow the precepts, and you can try for one day to follow the precepts more closely, and then maybe the next day you won't be able to maintain that, and we're all going through that. You know, we're not
okay?
perfect moral agents. It's more that the precepts support us to be mindful of what our actions are moment by moment. So, for
Okay.
example, if you just drink regularly, you're accustomed to drinking regularly, you'll remember, oh, this is getting drunk, it clouds my mind, and this is one of my precepts. So you might still drink, but you bring this layer of mindfulness to what you're doing and how what you do affects your life. So that's a big help from it as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bante.
You're welcome.
Hey Bante, hey everyone.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to ask a question about. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So the bells at the start and the end of every, that you sometimes use when we're doing meditation.
Were there bells today?
There weren't. I joined late. So I'm not sure.
Okay, no, there weren't. That's right. The bell's not here. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering what the significance of those were. I guess as a and as like a secondary question, I think a problem that I have sometimes with meditation, uh, trying out different methods beyond just sort of like awareness of the breath and of the body. I fear that I'm sometimes like over intellectualizing the kind of the act of meditation. But I had an experience recently with the bells, I guess, where it's I heard, and stop me if this is like if this is just like a meaningless thing, but I had an experience with the bells recently where it was like the ringing of the bell. I could find like a center from that, which I focused my kind of attention on, and it, like meditating on that provided like a different kind of like experience for myself. I'm not sure if that's significant or not. It's like the source of the sound I was coming from my own mind, and I kind of zeroed in on that, and then I found there's something different to that. Sorry, I'm not expressing myself well, but anyway.
No, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. You answered your own question. That's the purpose of the bell. That's the best purpose of the bell, is that it centers your mind, it collects your mind, and it gives you something to just to hone in on, to touch directly. And then you stay with that direct touching of the mind. And we use different methods to do that. So awareness of the body, or you hear the bell, and that helps us to touch the mind, to experience the mind directly. And that's what our practice is.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for your practice and for joining in so often. Appreciate it.
Hi, Bante. I have a question about defining reality and illusion in Buddhism. I put it in the voice text, so I thought it might be easier, but I can read it. We talk about reality. Is it fair to say that reality we consider illusory, not because it's a fantasy or unreal, but because our perceptions mislead us to believe that we are separate from the elements that we're made of in reality? Is that a fair description of reality and illusion as we talk about it?
So reality in Buddhism is talking about the mind itself, or no mind itself. So awareness itself, we can say. So any phenomena such as your body or perceptions or the universe, the physical realms of the universe, even different realms of existence, different realms of experience are mutable. They're constantly in a state of change. They're constantly in a state of flux. So from the Buddhist perspective, we can consider that that is a dream. It's an illusion. It appears to be fixed. It appears to be real, but in fact, it's just our perception of it that gives it its reality. In fact, it's just melting. It's just flowing. It's like trying to grab a hold of a solid block of cheese in fondue, right? And so clearly you're not going to get a hold of a solid block of cheese in fondue. That's exactly antithetical to what fondue is. And the same way, finding reality in the body or in our perceptions or in the physical world is fondue. It's melted cheese. It's all flowing together. And it's still cheese. It's still reality. It's not separate from awareness, but it's mutable. It's constantly changing. It's constantly flowing. So that's a very deep question. I would also like to hear answers to that question from, some practitioners and eminent monks and things. But that's that's uh that's a fair answer. There's a big emphasis on that which is changing and in flux versus that which is not in changing, not in flux. That which is what is woken up to, and that which is released or let go of upon waking. So no attachment, no craving for, no aversion, and what's left. We're not trying to get this, we're not trying to get rid of that, and so what's there? And that is reality. But this also, there's a verse we read recently about you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So there's the practical, there's the relative and the absolute, and they are not separate. But also the absolute is not the absolute, and the relative is not the relative. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. So if you get a mind, if you get an attachment, if you get an idea about what emptiness is or what true reality is, that's also not it, for sure. There was another reading we did recently where some Zen master said, if I start to talk about the Zen, no one will show up. And what does that mean exactly? But if you start to talk about tricks and shows and different perspectives and different styles and different ways of looking at it, then everybody comes to the barbecue to enjoy it. So maybe in that Zen is silence or something, but reality as it is at this moment is also good. Not this, not that, just this. Okay. You have anything to add to that, Robert? What do you think? I couldn't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that fits within yeah, that it resonates, and especially the idea of perhaps to look at reality is like um, um, uh, if you look at reality, to describe it and analyze it, then that understanding of reality becomes elusive. It is only when we look at just the present moment and accept reality as what's happening right now without attachment to judgments, then we're able to perceive that reality. So the tighter you grasp on reality, the more able to perceive what is real and true disappears. I think that's what I'm getting, but your answer was very helpful.
And what you put in your question about illusory, in that it's empty of separation. That's all. That's also the emptiness of it. So it's empty of separation. It's empty of a self. It's empty of permanence. Reality is empty of those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. That I read part of this language from there's a Wikipedia entry on reality and Buddhism, and that those two lines struck me. So I wanted to see what you thought, and hopefully it was helpful to others.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Robert. Anyone else have a question?
Yes, I have a question, Bante. My question: if everything is an illusion, so why is it important for us to wake up? Because of suffering? And if the suffering is an illusion as well, why do we have to be on the path of to wake up? Basically, it's just a question. I mean, if there is no bad or wrong, why are we in this path?
Well, it's just to be practical and to be realistic. So we recognize what kind of situation we're in, and we recognize what activities and what actions we take that promote wholesome states of mind or unwholesome states of mind. So what is illusion? What is reality? Who cares? I want to live a good life. I want to have a happiness. I want to have peace. I want to have good relationships with other people. I want to support other people in their happiness, their peace, and their independence. And so for me, following precepts, practicing meditation, being inspired by these deeper teachings that's the path. And that's why I want to be on it. If you go around telling people that they don't have a self, well, who's doing that? And why are you doing that? If you're fixated on what illusions are, you're just in a state of illusion. There are no illusions. So that's why we walk the path. Most people aren't able to have that kind of recognition. It's only illusion, it's only dreaming. So it's only because you can kind of get your head up above water that you can start to manage your life according to the Dharma, according to great skillfulness, according to great wisdom, following precepts, not just me, my, mine, being more attractive, being more beautiful, being more powerful, being more muscular, getting more pleasurable experiences, all that different stuff. So our practice is not separate from awakening, but also our practice is to realize where we are and what's going on. This body, this mind, the conditions that we find ourselves in, and managing those conditions as skillfully as we can. So there is that mystical side to it, but there's also that practical side. And we hold them both equally. You don't need to discriminate. You don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater because there's no illusion, there's no suffering, there's no this, there's no that. Yeah, but you're still in a practical situation. So you can value the mystical wisdom, the great poetry, this transcendent prajnaparamita, transcendent wisdom, purifying wisdom, and also be deeply, deeply practical. You don't have to choose one of them because they contain each other. There's no separation between them. They support one another. That's why we bring our hands together. We bring the relative, bring the absolute, bring them together here and now. And that's how you have this deep, real practice. That's how your sincerity increases and your depth increases. Opening the heart and deepening the mind, not just more superficial faith or idea about what's true and what's not, but you keep stepping into it, and you take responsibility for the relative, which is the situation we all find ourselves in. And we are inspired by and we recognize the absolute within the relative and the relative within the absolute. So the answer is you just keep practicing. Follow precepts, do meditation, study the Dharma, do your best, and then, your questions and your challenges and your, this is all illusion. Maybe one day you'll find yourself living in the gutter with a shaved head and happier than all of us, right? And that's when you really say all is illusion. Haven't you got it yet? Haven't you understood it yet? But you have to be, down in the gutter. And I guess in that situation, your hair will be long and big beard and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, the relative and the absolute, and we just manage it moment by moment. Thank you for your attendance and your support, David. Very inspired by your practice recently. Very grateful. Anyone else?
Maybe one more question, but
Okay.
if I may.
Yeah.
What should we do in general, practically speaking, if whatever we're doing in our life as lay Buddhists happens to coincide with one of the precepts, one of the lay precepts or one of the advanced precepts, like be separate from luxury. Don't live in high beds, don't sleep in high bed. I'll give you an example. Let's say our success at our job requires us to engage in social rituals, which are, inexorable from drugs, from intoxicants. Like you have to go to work, you have to meet with the manager, you have to drink with him, engage in intoxicants. Doesn't sit right with me. Like usually, what I just do is I just tell him I am not morally allowed to do this. I
Well,
prohibit. Yeah.
Cliff, I just heard about this from Ajahn Brahm. He was talking about this. It's simple. You tell them this is doctor's orders. The Buddha oftentimes referred to himself and described himself as a doctor. So to say that this is the doctor's orders is truthful. It's sincere. If a psychiatrist or a psychologist told you, some random psychiatrist said, well, you can't drink, sure, that's doctor's orders. Well, this isn't some random psychiatrist. This is the fully enlightened one,
Buddha.
the self-liberated one. That's right, Buddha himself. So, this is the doctor's doctor. So
Excellent.
you just to say that this is doctor's orders, and if we find that we cannot avoid to break a precept, then take that breaking of a precept to be done as mindfully as possible. And don't use that as an excuse to break precepts, that okay, well now I'm going to go drink and I'll just be mindful and it's all good. But if you find yourself in that serious situation where, you're kind of the storm, your boat is not big enough for the storm that you find yourself in. And this is going to happen to all of us in different times, in different situations. You've just got to hold on to that boat, hold on to your raft of Dharma and sincerity and practice and wait. And if you stay mindful, if you stay awake, if you stay aware during that, and if you get too drunk, you're not going to be aware and awake for sure, or too intoxicated by whatever activity. But if you can just stay mindful that then the moment that there's a break in the clouds, the moment that there's a break in the storm, which way is your boat going to head? And then you double down, you can continue. You know, your practice can really enliven and refresh and restart because we're going to find ourselves in those storms that are far too big for the boat that we have. And there's really nothing that you can do at that time, except to stay mindful and to stay sincere and wait.
Let's say that's an opportunity to get back up with greater strength.
It's right. Yeah, it's right.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what happens is that you recognize that this storm of desire, lust, social responsibility, whatever it might be that you found yourself in that was too big for your boat. And why was the storm too big for your boat? Because of your infatuation by the feeling of it, the desire for it. Like, this actually is going to satisfy me this time. This is going to be the shot. This is going to make it happen. Once you go through that storm, you realize that did not satisfy me. And it actually wasn't good for me or the other person involved, or the people involved, the community involved. So we go through that, and we learn, and we grow, and we develop.
Yeah.
We continue.
A bit of development on these thoughts. I'll give you, another tiny example, less significant, would be lying or engaging in deceiving, not with ill will towards other people, but actually with goodwill towards them. Not white lies, but like say for example, you live in an environment where you are expected socially engage in gossip or engage in this guy did this, that guy did that. It's like, and if you do not, you are seen as, unsociable. You're seen as unskillful. You're seen as, this guy is weird. In my mind, if you have to stick around, you just, the best advice I could give you is to do not, to do like to not engage as much as humanly possible, even if it means that you have to sacrifice some aspects of your social life. Eventually, they might even kick you out anyway. So, that would be an excellent opportunity to strengthen your practice anyway. Okay. These are my.
Yeah. So don't sacrifice your morality for anything.
Right.
And when you find that there is a rocky situation where, like I said, the storm's too big for your boat, maintain mindfulness, and at the first opportunity, you go through the other way. You go through the break in the storm, and you continue following the precepts, continue doing your best, and asking this question of, how can I be a good person? How can I live skillfully? How can I take care of being a kind, gentle, sincere, truthful person? And you get creative. A lot of times we're so used to reacting to situations, and reaction is not very creative. It's animalistic. So if you respond, and if you give a lot of sincerity and a lot of contemplation and consideration to how you respond, you'll find that there are a lot of creative options that aren't otherwise readily apparent. Creative ways to navigate your life so that you can be more truthful, more in line with the precepts, more in line with protecting your mind from selfishness, from harming others, from harming yourself.
Yeah. As my other Buddhist peers tend to say, skillful means live. Right. Well, yeah, skillful means, even beyond the precepts, like seeking towards enlightenment. We have a lot of leeway in terms of how exactly we get there, but we have to minimize breaching the precepts as much as possible, no matter what. So, yeah, thank you very much, Bante.
Yeah.
Sadhu.
Okay, sadhu, sadhu. So if you have any difficulty with the precepts, follow two basic precepts. Don't do anything by body, speech, or mind to harm yourself. Don't do anything by body, speech, or mind to harm someone else. Okay, did someone else have a question?
I had a question, but I think that you already answered it, even if I haven't. But the thing is, I don't know if I truly understood it. So, when we're meditating, it is supposed for us to stay in present, not fixating with the past, neither worrying with the future. But sometimes, present, the present continues. The right now is not like tolerable. So I understand that I should see it as impermanent, or as my own illusion, my own wrong view of reality. Just sometimes I can't, or maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't know what.
So instead of all that, just be patient. Just be patient. Because that unbearable present is, just like you said, it is totally impermanent. You don't need to think your way through it. That this is actually, wait a minute, this is actually impermanent. What am I doing? Just be patient. Stay with your method. Your method will protect you. Feeling the sensations of the breath, awareness of the body, refresh, restart, practicing like that, just breathing, just being aware. Make sure that you have a good understanding of what your method is. Simple way of applying your mind to relax, to refresh, to restart, to settle, to ground. And sometimes it's just being patient, but being aware and being patient.
Okay, well, thank you.
Does that sound like you'll be able to do that? Do you have an understanding from that?
Well, yeah, it's just like waiting for things to pass and also wait for me to be better.
What's that? Can you say again?
Well, if you mean that I should wait, be patient for things to just stop, and for me to have a better view of things.
Well, this is
patient, like.
Yeah, I'm talking about being patient in your meditation practice. For when you are finding that the body is very uncomfortable, maybe you should move. But if you're finding that you're just going through a period in your meditation where it's very uncomfortable and the mind is stressed, the mind's worked up, whatever it might be, just to be patient and not to worry about, like, how am I going to get rid of this? You don't have to worry about that. It's going to pass away. It's not permanent. It's not going to stay around. So just to be patient and stay with your method as that's going on in terms of meditation. But it's not about getting better. There's no getting better in this situation. It's just you're following your method. You're staying with your method of meditation. And sometimes it's very unsatisfactory experience. Sometimes it's very satisfactory. Sometimes it's very neutral and boring. And so we practice patience with all of that, really. When it's very pleasurable, I'm really meditating, finally it's really happening. Okay, be patient and don't overthink it. When it's boring, okay, be patient, don't overthink it. When it's quite unpleasant, okay, It's quite unpleasant. Be patient. Don't overthink it. What do you think, Anna?
Yeah, that's more clear. Yeah, stay with the method. I will try that. Thank you.
And there, it's not always the same advice. For if you're going through um, a difficult life experience, and you've got someone who's bullying you, or someone who you live with who's a dangerous person, you don't just be patient and sit around them. It's not the same advice. But when we're practicing our meditation, we just to be patient for those experiences to go away, whether it's pleasurable or painful or boring. It won't continue to be that way. And the point is not to seek out experiences. The point is to apply the method, to be aware, to be with what's happening right now. Okay. Anyone else? How about Mindy, Mosshand, Janelle? You have any question? Okay. All right. Thank you all for joining. Hope to see you again this evening, this afternoon, different times for everyone, but thank you for joining, and take care of your life, take care of your practice. See you again soon. Sadhu.
Thank you. Take care.